The Zarkonian battlecruiser hung in space, its sleek, obsidian hull reflecting the distant starlight. Commander Vrax stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes narrowed as he surveyed the fleet before him. Dozens of warships stretched out into the inky void, a testament to the might of the Zarkonian Empire. Status report. Vrax barked, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the command deck. Lieutenant Nix, a younger Zarkonian with blue-tinged scales, responded promptly. All systems optimal, Commander. The Terran outpost is within range. They have no idea we're here. Vrax allowed himself a small smile. The humans, barely a century into their interstellar adventures, were about to learn the price of encroaching on Zarkonian territory. This would be a quick, decisive victory, a message to all who dared challenge their dominion. Prepare tow. Vrax's order was cut short by a sudden alarm. The main view screen flickered to life, showing an impossible sight. There, in the midst of their formation, was the prize of the Zarkonian fleet, the Nexus-class warship Stormbreaker. It was their most advanced vessel, capable of outgunning entire armadas, and it was powering up. Impossible. Vrax hissed. The Stormbreaker is unmanned. It's in standby mode for the upcoming demonstration. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The massive ship's engines were glowing, its weapon systems coming online. But strangest of all was the erratic flight pattern. The ship moved like a newborn creature learning to walk, alternating between clumsy lurches and surprising bursts of agility. Sir, Nix's voice was filled with disbelief. We're detecting a life sign aboard the Stormbreaker. It's human. The bridge fell silent. Vrax felt his heart's racing. A human. Controlling their most advanced warship, it was inconceivable. Aboard the Stormbreaker, 17-year-old Aria Jensen was having the strangest day of her life. One moment, she had been exploring the abandoned alien ship her father's salvage crew had discovered. The next, she was surrounded by pulsing lights and holographic displays, the ship humming to life around her. "Oh God, oh God, oh God," Aria muttered, her hands hovering over what she assumed were the controls. She had no idea what she'd done to activate the ship, but she knew one thing: she was in big trouble. Outside the viewport, she could see other ships, alien ships, and they didn't look friendly. Aria's mind raced. She'd always been good with technology, able to figure out interfaces quickly, but this was beyond anything she'd ever encountered. Still, as panic threatened to overwhelm her, she forced herself to focus. "Okay, Aria," she whispered to herself, "you can do this. Just think of it like a video game. A really high-stakes, possibly lethal video game." As if responding to her thoughts, the ship's systems began to make more sense. Holographic displays rearranged themselves, becoming more intuitive. Was the ship adapting to her? A flashing red icon caught her attention, warning signals she couldn't read, but their meaning was clear. The alien ships were powering up weapons. No. Aria's fingers flew over the controls, desperately trying to find something, anything that could help. "Come on, you oversized less than error greater than space toaster. Work with me here." To her astonishment, the ship responded. Shields sprang to life just as the first volley of enemy fire approached. The impacts made the ship shudder, but the shields held. Back on the Zarkonian command ship, Vrax watched in growing horror as the Stormbreaker not only activated its defenses, but began to move with increasing confidence. "Impossible," he muttered again, but with less conviction. "Lieutenant, hail that ship. Now." Nix complied, and moments later, a visual link was established. The bridge crew collectively gasped as the image of a young human female appeared on screen. She looked terrified, but there was a determination in her eyes that made Vrax uneasy. "This is Commander Vrax of the Zarkonian Empire," he began, trying to keep his voice steady. "You are in control of a vessel you have no right to. Power down immediately and prepare to be boarded." Aria swallowed hard, her mind racing. She had no idea who these aliens were, but their intentions seemed clear. She took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed. "This is Aria Jensen," she responded, her voice only shaking slightly. I don't know how I'm controlling this ship, but I am, and I don't intend to let you hurt me or take me prisoner." Vrax's eyes narrowed. "You are one human child against an entire battle fleet. You cannot hope to prevail." A small smile played at the corners of Aria's mouth. "Maybe not, but I'm going to try. And something tells me this ship has a few surprises left." As if on cue, new systems sprang to life around Aria. Displays she hadn't noticed before lit up, offering capabilities she could only begin to guess at. Vrax saw it too, the unmistakable activation of the Stormbreaker's more exotic weapon systems. Systems that, by all rights, should have been impossible for a human to access, let alone control. "All ships," Vrax barked, "surround the Stormbreaker. Prepare to disable but do not destroy. I want that human alive." As the Zarkonian fleet began to move, Aria felt a strange calm settle over her. She didn't understand what was happening or how she was doing it, but she knew one thing: she wasn't going down without a fight. "All right," she whispered to the ship, her hands finding their place on the controls with surprising certainty. "Let's show them what we can do." The Stormbreaker's engines flared to life, and for a moment, human ingenuity and alien technology moved as one, ready to take on the impossible odds that lay ahead. Aria's heart raced as she guided the Stormbreaker through the encircling Zarkonian fleet. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls, each movement more confident than the last. The ship responded to her commands with uncanny precision, as if it were an extension of her own body. "This is insane," she muttered, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts from a nearby cruiser. "I'm flying an alien warship like I've been doing it my whole life." As Aria maneuvered, she began to notice something strange. The more she used the ship's systems, the more intuitive they became. Displays shifted, controls rearranged themselves, all seemingly adapting to her thought patterns. On the Zarkonian command ship, Commander Vrax watched in disbelief as the Stormbreaker effortlessly evaded their attacks. His normally stoic demeanor was cracking under the strain of the impossible situation. "Lieutenant Nix," he growled, "explain to me how a human child is outmaneuvering our entire fleet." Nix's fingers flew over her console, analyzing data streams. "Commander, it's the ship. The Stormbreaker's neural interface is adapting to the human's brainwaves. It's learning from her." Vrax's eyes widened. "Impossible. The neural interface is keyed to Zarkonian biology. No other species should be able to access it, let alone control it." "Sir," another officer interjected, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Stormbreaker. It's evolving." Back on the Stormbreaker, Aria was starting to understand the enormity of what was happening. The ship wasn't just responding to her commands, it was anticipating them. A symbiosis was forming between human and machine, unlocking potentials neither fully understood. "Okay, big guy," Aria said, patting the control panel affectionately. "Let's see what else you can do." As if in response, new systems came online. Weapons she couldn't begin to comprehend, defenses that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself. Aria grinned, a plan forming in her mind. "You want to play?" She transmitted to the Zarkonian fleet. "Let's play." The Stormbreaker surged forward, its newly awakened systems creating a dazzling display of light and energy. Aria wove through the enemy formation, not firing a single shot, but demonstrating a level of control that left the Zarkonians stunned. Commander Vrax watched, a mixture of awe and fury on his face. "All ships, hold your fire," he ordered. "This human, she's not trying to escape. She's toying with us." Lieutenant Nix looked up from her console, her expression grave. "Sir, I've analyzed the Stormbreaker's flight patterns. The human isn't just flying the ship. She's rewriting its operational parameters in real time. She's making it do things it was never designed for." Vrax's mind raced. The implications were staggering. If a human child could do this, what would happen if the humans gained full access to Zarkonian technology? On the Stormbreaker, Arya was lost in the exhilaration of flight. The ship responded to her every thought, pushing the boundaries of what she believed possible. But as the adrenaline began to fade, reality set in. "What am I doing?" she whispered, the enormity of her situation crushing down on her. "I'm in the middle of an alien fleet, flying a stolen warship. How do I get out of this?" As if sensing her distress, the ship's systems shifted again. A new display appeared, showing what looked like a map of the surrounding space. A blinking light caught Arya's attention, an anomaly in the nearby asteroid field. "Is that a way out?" Arya wondered aloud. Before she could investigate further, a transmission cut through her thoughts. Commander Vrax's face appeared on the main screen, his expression a mixture of anger and, was that respect? "Human," Vrax said, his voice low and controlled, "you have demonstrated remarkable skill. But this game must end. Power down the Stormbreaker and surrender yourself. I give you my word as a Zarkonian commander that you will not be harmed." Arya hesitated. Part of her wanted to believe him, to end this insane adventure before it got her killed. But something deeper, an instinct she couldn't explain, told her to hold on. "I'm sorry, Commander," she replied, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. "But I can't do that. I don't understand what's happening any more than you do, but I know one thing. This ship chose me for a reason, and I intend to find out why." With that, Arya cut the transmission. She took a deep breath, centering herself. "All right, partner," she said to the ship, "show me what that anomaly is." The Stormbreaker's engines flared to life, and it shot towards the asteroid field with breathtaking speed. The Zarkonian fleet, caught off guard by the sudden movement, scrambled to pursue. As Arya guided the ship through the tumbling rocks, she felt a change in the ship's energy. It was almost like anticipation, as if the Stormbreaker knew they were on the cusp of something monumental. "Whatever's out there," Arya murmured, "I hope it's friendly." The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic maze of rock and ice. But Arya wasn't afraid. She had the most advanced ship in the galaxy at her fingertips, and more importantly, she had her own ingenuity. As the Stormbreaker plunged into the field, Arya allowed herself a small smile. Whatever lay ahead, she was ready to face it. The mystery of the ship, the anomaly, and her own unexpected abilities were waiting to be unraveled. And Arya Jensen, the girl who flew an alien warship, was determined to solve them all. The Stormbreaker weaved through the asteroid field with impossible grace, each movement a perfect fusion of Arya's instincts and the ship's advanced capabilities. Behind her, the Zarkonian fleet struggled to keep pace, their larger ships ill-suited for the tight maneuvers required to navigate the dense field. As Arya approached the anomaly, her breath caught in her throat. What had appeared as a simple blip on the ship's sensors was revealed to be a massive structure, hidden within the heart of the asteroid field. Its design was unlike anything she had ever seen, not human, and distinctly different from the Zarkonian ships pursuing her. "What are you?" Arya whispered, awe evident in her voice. As if in response, the structure began to emit a soft, pulsing light. The Stormbreaker's systems reacted immediately, displays shifting to show new information. Arya's eyes widened as she began to understand. It's some kind of ancient space station, she realized. And the Stormbreaker, you knew it was here, didn't you? The ship's systems hummed in what Arya could only interpret as affirmation. She shook her head, marveling at the bond that had formed between her and this alien vessel. Suddenly, a communication channel opened. Arya tensed, expecting to see Commander Vrax's stern face. Instead, she was greeted by a shimmer of light that coalesced into a vaguely humanoid form. "Welcome, young navigator," a voice echoed in Arya's mind, neither male nor female, but somehow comforting. "We have waited a long time for one such as you." Arya blinked, struggling to find her voice. What are you?" "We are the architects," the being replied. "We seeded the galaxies with our technology eons ago, waiting for species to evolve that could truly understand and use it. The vessel you command is one such creation." Before Arya could respond, another transmission cut in. Commander Vrax's face appeared on a separate screen, his expression a mixture of awe and fury. "Human," he barked. "What trickery is this? What have you found?" Arya looked between the shimmering form of the architect and the angry Zarkonian commander. She took a deep breath, realizing that she stood at a pivotal moment, not just in her life, but potentially in the history of multiple species. "Commander Vrax," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "I think we both have a lot to learn here. This ship, the Stormbreaker, it's more than just a weapon, it's a key to something much bigger." The architect's form shimmered. "Indeed, young navigator, the vessel you call Stormbreaker is but one of many seeds we planted. It has chosen you, recognizing in you the potential to bridge the gap between species, to usher in a new era of understanding." Vrax's eyes narrowed. "Preposterous. The Stormbreaker is Zarkonian technology. We built it." "You assembled it," the architect corrected gently, "using principles and technologies left behind by us. But you have only scratched the surface of its true potential. This young human has connected with it in ways you have not yet achieved." Arya could see the conflict on Vrax's face. His entire worldview was being challenged, centuries of Zarkonian superiority questioned in a matter of moments. "Commander," Arya said softly, "I know this is a lot to take in. Believe me, I'm just as shocked. But think about what this could mean. This isn't about humans versus Zarkonians anymore. There's something much bigger going on here." For a long moment, silence reigned. Arya held her breath, acutely aware that the next few moments could determine the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. Finally, Vrax spoke, his voice gruff but no longer hostile. I will hear more of this, but be warned, human. Any sign of deception, and my fleet will not hesitate to open fire." The architect's form brightened. "A wise decision, Commander. There is much to discuss, and much that both your species can learn." As the architect began to explain the history of their race and the purpose of the technology they had left behind, Arya leaned back in her chair, a mix of emotions washing over her: fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. She glanced at her reflection in one of the ship's polished surfaces. The scared teenager who had accidentally activated an alien ship was gone. In her place was someone new, a bridge between species, a key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. "Well, Arya," she muttered to herself, a small smile playing on her lips, "you wanted an adventure. Looks like you got one." As the Stormbreaker drifted closer to the ancient space station, Arya knew that this was just the beginning. The universe had opened up in ways she could never have imagined, and she was at the heart of it all. With a deep breath, she opened herself to the flood of new information, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. The girl who flew an alien warship was about to become so much more. As the Stormbreaker docked with the ancient space station, Arya felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The architect's shimmering form guided her through the docking procedure, while Commander Vrax's fleet maintained a wary distance. "Young navigator," the architect's voice resonated in her mind, "you must prepare yourself. The knowledge contained within this station is vast and may be overwhelming." Arya nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "I'm ready," she said, surprising herself with her own confidence. As the airlock sealed, Arya stood up, realizing for the first time how natural it felt to be in command of this incredible ship. She turned to the holographic representation of the architect. "What now?" Before the being could answer, a transmission from Vrax cut in. "Human," he growled, "do not think for a moment that you are in control here. My fleet stands ready to strike if you make any hostile moves." Arya sighed, frustration bubbling up inside her. "Commander, I've told you I'm not your enemy. We have a chance to learn something incredible here. Why can't you see that?" The architect's form flickered. Patience, young navigator. Fear and mistrust are not easily overcome. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Stormbreaker. Aria's eyes widened as she saw new ships appearing on the sensors. What's happening? The architect's voice was urgent. A third faction approaches. They seek the knowledge contained here, but their intentions are not peaceful. On the view screen, Aria saw sleek, predatory ships emerging from what appeared to be a spatial rift. Their design was unlike anything she had seen before, all sharp angles and pulsing energy weapons. Commander Vrax's face appeared, his expression a mix of anger and concern. Scourgers, human, what have you done? Your presence here has drawn them to us. Aria's mind raced. I didn't. I don't even know who they are. The architect's voice cut through the chaos. The Scourgers are a race that seeks to claim our technology for themselves, using it to dominate rather than understand. They must not be allowed to access this station. Aria looked at the approaching Scourger fleet, then at Vrax's forces. She took a deep breath, an idea forming. Commander Vrax, she said, her voice steady. I know you don't trust me, but right now, we have a common enemy. Will you work with me to defend this station? Vrax's multiple eyes blinked in surprise. For a moment, Aria thought he would refuse. Then slowly he nodded. Very well, human. What do you propose? A smile spread across Aria's face. I have an idea, but you're going to have to trust me. And she added, glancing at the architect, I'm going to need full access to the Stormbreaker systems. The next few minutes were a flurry of activity. Aria's fingers flew over the Stormbreaker's controls, interfacing with the ancient station's systems. The architect guided her, unlocking capabilities that even the Zarkonians hadn't known existed. As the Scourger fleet approached, Aria opened a channel to Vrax's ships. Okay, Commander. Here's the plan. Your fleet needs to form a defensive perimeter around the station. The Stormbreaker will act as bait, drawing the Scourgers into a trap. Vrax's expression was skeptical. And how do you intend to trap an entire fleet? Aria's eyes gleamed with excitement. With a little bit of human ingenuity and a whole lot of alien tech. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. As the Scourger ships entered the asteroid field, Aria sprang her trap. The Stormbreaker pulsed with energy, interfacing with the ancient station. Suddenly, the asteroids around them came to life, revealing hidden propulsion systems. Now, Aria shouted. At her command, the asteroids began to move, forming a swirling vortex around the Scourger fleet. The enemy ships, caught off guard, struggled to maneuver in the newly chaotic environment. Commander Vrax watched in awe as Aria coordinated the defense. The Stormbreaker danced through the asteroid field, its weapons precisely targeting the Scourger's weak points. Meanwhile, the Zarkonian fleet provided supporting fire, their shots guided by targeting data from the ancient station. As the battle raged, Aria felt a sense of exhilaration unlike anything she had ever experienced. She was more than just piloting a ship. She was conducting a symphony of technology and tactics, blending human creativity with alien advancement. The Scourgers, despite their advanced technology, found themselves outmatched. Their formations broke, ships colliding with asteroids or each other in the chaos. Finally, after what seemed like hours but was merely minutes, the remaining Scourger ships retreated, disappearing back through the spatial rift they had emerged from. As the asteroid field settled back into its original configuration, silence fell over the communications channels. Then slowly, cheers began to erupt from the Zarkonian fleet. Commander Vrax's face appeared on the view screen, his expression a mix of disbelief and grudging respect. Human Aria, he said, using her name for the first time. That was impressive. Aria leaned back in her chair, a tired but satisfied smile on her face. Thanks, Commander. You and your fleet did pretty well yourselves. The architect's form shimmered into view. Young navigator, you have proven yourself beyond our expectations. The way you integrated our technology with your own intuition, it is precisely why we left these seeds behind. Arya nodded, feeling the weight of the architect's words. She had done more than just win a battle. She had opened the door to a new era of cooperation and discovery. As the adrenaline of the fight began to fade, Arya looked out at the star-filled expanse before her. The universe suddenly seemed bigger, full of both danger and possibility. And somehow, improbably, she found herself at the center of it all. "So," she said, a hint of her old mischief creeping into her voice, "what's next?" The architect's response was tinged with amusement. "That, young navigator, is up to you." In the aftermath of the battle, an uneasy peace settled over the asteroid field. The Zarkonian fleet maintained a defensive posture around the ancient station, while Arya and the Stormbreaker remained docked, interfacing with the vast repository of knowledge contained within. Arya sat in the Stormbreaker's command chair, her mind reeling from the influx of information. The architect's presence was a constant, guiding her through the labyrinth of alien data. "This is incredible," Arya murmured, her eyes wide as she absorbed holographic displays of advanced technologies and star charts of unexplored regions. "There's so much here, it would take lifetimes to understand it all." The architect's form shimmered. "Indeed, young navigator, our legacy is vast, but you have already shown a remarkable ability to synthesize and apply this knowledge." A transmission alert blinked on the console. Commander Vrax's face appeared, his expression a mixture of curiosity and impatience. "Human, we've upheld our end of the bargain. It's time you shared what you've learned." Arya nodded, understanding the Zarkonian's position. "You're right, Commander. But before I do, there's something you need to see." She turned to the architect. "Can you show him what you showed me? About the Zarkonians?" The architect's form pulsed in agreement, and suddenly, the view screen was filled with images that made Vrax's eyes widen in shock. This cannot be," Vrax muttered, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. The images showed the early history of the Zarkonian race, not as conquerors, but as peaceful explorers. It revealed how they had discovered the architect's technology and, over generations, twisted its purpose from understanding to domination. "Your people were not always as they are now, Commander," Arya said gently. "The architects chose you, just as the Stormbreaker chose me. But somewhere along the way, fear and the desire for power changed your society's path." Vrax was silent for a long moment, his worldview visibly shaken. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with realization. "We have strayed far from our original purpose, but how do we find our way back?" The architect's voice resonated through the communication channels. "The path forward requires cooperation, not conquest. The young human has shown that different species, working together, can achieve far more than any single race alone." Arya leaned forward, her expression earnest. "Commander, think about what we did today. Humans, Zarkonians, and architect technology, all working in harmony. Imagine what we could accomplish if we approached the galaxy with that mindset." As Vrax contemplated her words, another alert flashed on the Stormbreaker's console. Arya's eyes widened as she read the incoming transmission. It's from Earth. They've detected our presence and the Zarkonian fleet. They're demanding answers." The architect's form brightened. "And so, young navigator, your true test begins. You stand at a crossroads of galactic history. The choices you make now will shape the future of multiple civilizations." Arya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She looked at Vrax, seeing not an alien commander, but a potential ally. "Commander, I have a proposal. Instead of hiding this discovery or fighting over it, what if we present a united front? We could invite Earth to join us in exploring the architect's legacy." Vrax's expression was thoughtful. "A bold suggestion, human. It goes against centuries of Zarkonian policy. And yet, after what I've seen today, I find myself considering it." The architect interjected. "Such an alliance would be unprecedented, but it aligns with our original intention. The seeds we planted were meant to bring species together, not drive them apart." Arya nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Here's what I propose. We invite a delegation from Earth to this station. Together, humans, Zarkonians, and the architect, we present what we've discovered. We offer to share the knowledge, but with the condition that it be used for peaceful exploration and the betterment of all species." Vrax was silent for a long moment, his multiple eyes blinking in contemplation. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm but not unkind. "You ask much, Arya Jensen, but you have also shown us much. Very well. Let us try this new path." A smile spread across Arya's face. She turned to the architect. "Can you help us prepare? We'll need to present this information in a way that won't overwhelm or frighten the Earth delegation." The architect's form pulsed with what Arya interpreted as approval. "Of course, young navigator. Your intuition continues to impress. Together, we shall prepare for this historic moment." As Arya began coordinating with Vrax and the architect, she couldn't help but marvel at the turn her life had taken. Just days ago, she had been an ordinary teenager. Now, she stood at the center of a potential galactic alliance. The Stormbreaker hummed around her, its systems a comforting presence. Arya realized that her journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. With a deep breath, she turned her attention to the task at hand, ready to help shape the future of not just humanity, but of the entire galaxy. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The ancient space station, once hidden and dormant, now bustled with life. Representatives from Earth had arrived, their initial fear and suspicion gradually giving way to awe and excitement as Arya, Commander Vrax, and the architect presented their discoveries. Arya stood at the heart of it all, a bridge between worlds. She watched as human scientists marveled at Zarkonian technology, while Zarkonian engineers puzzled over human ingenuity. The architect's presence was a constant, guiding and explaining, helping to smooth over cultural misunderstandings. "I never imagined anything like this," Dr. Elena Rossi, the lead scientist from Earth, murmured as she examined a holographic display of the galaxy. "The architect's map shows so many habitable worlds we never knew existed." Commander Vrax, standing nearby, nodded in agreement. "Indeed, our own star charts pale in comparison. There is much we can learn from each other." Arya smiled, sensing the gradual thawing of relations. It wasn't always easy. Centuries of mistrust and misunderstanding couldn't be erased overnight. But progress was being made, one conversation at a time. As the days passed, the first joint human-Zarkonian research teams were formed. The Stormbreaker, with Arya at the helm, became a symbol of this new cooperation, embarking on short exploratory missions to nearby systems identified in the architect's database. During one such mission, Arya found a quiet moment alone on the Stormbreaker's bridge. She gazed out at the star-filled expanse, marveling at how much her life had changed. "Penny for your thoughts, young navigator," the architect's voice echoed in her mind. Arya chuckled, just thinking about how crazy all this is. A month ago, I was worried about my high school exams. Now I'm flying an alien ship and helping forge an interstellar alliance. The architect's form shimmered with what Arya had come to recognize as amusement. "You have adapted remarkably well. It is why the Stormbreaker chose you." Arya's expression grew serious. "There's still so much to do, though. Not everyone back on Earth is happy about this alliance, and I know there are factions within the Zarkonian Empire that resist change." "Change is never easy," the architect agreed. "But the seeds of a new era have been planted. Your role now is to nurture them." Their conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission. Commander Vrax's face appeared on the screen, his expression unusually excited. "Arya," he said, forgoing formal titles in his enthusiasm, "we've made a breakthrough. The joint research team has managed to adapt some of the architect's technology to enhance our long-range sensors. We're detecting something big." Arya leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of something, Commander?" Vrax's eyes gleamed. "Another architect installation, we believe. But this one is far larger than the station we found. It's the size of a small moon. Aria's breath caught in her throat. She glanced at the architect's shimmering form, which pulsed with an intensity she hadn't seen before. It seems, the architect said, that you have discovered one of our nexus points. A hub of knowledge and technology far beyond what you have seen so far. Aria's mind raced with the possibilities. We have to investigate, she said, already plotting a course in her head. Vrax nodded in agreement. I've already contacted Earth. They're assembling a joint expedition team. But Aria, we want you to lead it. For a moment, Aria was speechless. The responsibility was enormous, but so was the opportunity. She thought of her family back on Earth, of the life she had left behind. But then she looked out at the stars, at the infinite possibilities that lay before her. I accept, she said, her voice firm and clear. As the Stormbreaker prepared for its most ambitious journey yet, Aria felt a sense of anticipation unlike anything she had experienced before. The ship hummed around her, almost eager for the adventure ahead. Well, partner, she said, patting the control panel affectionately, looks like we've got a new mystery to solve. The architect's presence enveloped her, supportive and encouraging. The path ahead is uncertain, young navigator, but you have already proven yourself capable of facing any challenge. Aria nodded, a determined smile on her face. As she input the coordinates for their new destination, she couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of an even greater adventure. The Stormbreaker's engines flared to life, and the ship gracefully turned towards the unknown. Aria Jensen, once an ordinary teenager, now the linchpin of an interstellar alliance, set her sights on the horizon. Whatever lay ahead, new discoveries, potential dangers, or unimaginable wonders, she was ready to face it. As the ship accelerated into the vast expanse of space, Aria knew one thing for certain: the universe would never be the same again, and neither would she.